New York City, the greatest city in the world. A skyline of steel and glass, a monument to commerce, culture and power. But for over a century, running parallel to the city we see, there has been another city. A shadow government. An invisible empire that controls the docks, the unions, the construction, the garbage, just about everything. We all know the myths, we have seen the movies, The Godfather, Goodfellas. We know the names, Capone, Gotti. We see the lone powerful king. But the movies get it wrong. The real power, the true, enduring, terrifying power of the American Mafia was never about one man. It was about a system, an organization, a board of directors. This is the story of the corporation that conquered New York. This is the story of the 5 families. To understand the 5 families, you have to understand their greatest invention. It was not loan sharking, it was not gambling, it was the Commission. The Commission was the Mafia's United Nations, its Supreme Court, its board of directors. It was a system designed to do one thing: stop the killing and start the earning. Before the Commission, there was only chaos. Go back to 1930, New York City, the depths of the Great Depression. Prohibition is in full swing. There are billions to be made from illegal booze, and the Italian-American gangs are tearing the city and each other apart to get it. There were 2 main factions, 2 old-world bosses. They were called the Mustache Petes, old-school Sicilian tyrants who trusted no one who was not from their hometown. On one side was Joe the Boss Masseria, greedy, brutal, and foolish. On the other side was Salvatore Maranzano, arrogant, ruthless, and obsessed with Julius Caesar. He saw himself as a new Roman emperor. For over a year, they waged the Castellamarese War. It was a bloodbath. Car bombs, shotgun ambushes, drive-by shootings. Dozens of gangsters were left dead in the gutter. The war was bad for everyone. It was bad for business. It was attracting too much attention. The younger generation, the men who actually did the work and did the dying, were getting tired of it. They were American. They did not care what village in Sicily you came from. They cared about the money. And one man saw a way out. His name was Charles Luciano. Lucky Luciano. He was not a mustache Pete. He was a visionary, a criminal genius. He was the future. Luciano was technically with Joe the Boss Masseria, but he despised him. He saw Masseria for what he was, an obstacle. So, Luciano made a plan. First, he made a secret deal with Maranzano. I will get rid of my boss, and you and I will make peace, and we will rule together. Maranzano agreed. April 15th, 1931. A restaurant in Coney Island. Lucky Luciano is having lunch with his boss, Joe Masseria. In the middle of the meal, Luciano excuses himself to go to the washroom. The moment the bathroom door clicks, 4 men walk into the restaurant. They are Luciano's partners, Vito Genovese, Albert Anastasia, Joe Adonis, Bugsy Siegel. They walk to Masseria's table and they empty their guns. Joe the Boss Masseria was found dead, clutching a bloody ace of spades. Luciano had just murdered his own boss. The war was over. Salvatore Maranzano was victorious. He was now the boss of bosses, the capo di tutti capi. He summoned all the gangsters in New York to a grand meeting. He was the new Caesar. He gave a speech. He declared that from this chaos would come order. He would create the 5 families, 5 organized, structured groups, each with a defined territory, a boss, an underboss, a consigliere, capos and soldiers. It was a brilliant corporate structure. He would rule them all. And he made Luciano his number two, a fatal mistake. Maranzano was just another moustache Pete. He was arrogant, he was a tyrant, and he did not trust Lucky Luciano. He saw the same ambition, the same ruthlessness in his new partner. So, Maranzano hired a hitman to kill Luciano, but Luciano was always one step ahead. He found out about the plot, and he realized the only way to have peace was to get rid of all the old tyrants. September 10th, 1931, just 5 months after Masseria's death. Maranzano is in his office. 4 men, disguised as IRS agents, enter the building. They were Jewish gangsters sent by Luciano. They found Maranzano and they stabbed and shot him to death. The reign of the last boss of bosses was over. Now, Lucky Luciano was in complete control. He was the most powerful criminal in America. He could have declared himself boss of bosses, but he did not. He was smarter than that. He abolished the title. He called a meeting. He gathered the bosses of the new 5 families. And he created the commission. The idea was genius. It was a corporate board. There would be no single ruler. The 5 families of New York, Gambino, Genovese, Lucchese, Bonanno, Colombo, would share power. They would sit at a table as equals. They would vote. They would settle disputes. They would approve new members. They would authorize all murders. No more senseless wars. From now on, crime would be organized, and it worked. This is how they conquered New York. Not with guns, but with rules, with structure. They became a system. This is the system we are investigating at Visual Case Files. We use AI to visualize the hidden structures, the secret hierarchies, and the power that controls the world from the shadows. If you want to see inside the machine, subscribe to the channel. So who were the 5 families? First, there was the family that Luciano left behind, the Genovese family, named for his old partner, Vito Genovese. They were known as the Ivy League of the Mafia, the smartest, the most cunning, the most powerful. They were the Rolls-Royce of organized crime. They controlled the unions, the docks, the very lifeblood of the city. They were the ones who inspired the Corleone family in The Godfather. Next, the Gambino family. They were the royals, the celebrity family. For decades, they were run by the quiet, ruthless Carlo Gambino, the boss of bosses. Without the title, he was the most powerful man in the country. And when he died, his family was eventually taken over by the man who would break all the rules, the man who would put the Mafia on TV, John Gotti. The dapper Don was a Gambino. The other 3 were just as powerful in their own right. The Lucchese family, named for Tommy Lucchese. They were the workers, tough, blue collar. They controlled the garment district, the unions, the construction. The movie Goodfellas was about the Lucchese family. The Bonanno family, named for Joe Bonanno. They were the traditionalists. They were old school Sicilians who eventually tore themselves apart in a bloody internal conflict known as the Bonanno War. And finally, the Colombo family, the youngest family, the rebels. They were constantly at war with themselves, the most violent and unstable of the 5. This system, this commission, ruled American crime for 50 golden years. They were untouchable, they were invincible. Until 2 things happened. First, the US government finally figured it out. In the 1970s, they passed the Act, the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act, a law designed specifically to dismantle a system, a commission. Now, the government could charge the bosses for the crimes of their soldiers. And second, John Gotti. Gotti's arrogance, his publicity, his tapes, he exposed everything. He violated the one thing Luciano had built, secrecy. And the betrayal of Sammy the Bull brought the whole house of cards crashing down. The commission was broken. The bosses were jailed. The golden era was over. Or was it? The 5 families are still here. They are not gone. They just went back to Luciano's original rule. They went silent. They went back into the shadows, where they are still pulling the strings of the city that they conquered. Who do you think was the true criminal genius? Luciano, the architect, or Carlo Gambino, the quiet king? Let us know in the comments below.